Well, the 2023 Climate Story Lab ZA have recently launched 9 creative projects from 5 African countries, and they've been selected to participate in this lab. The 4-day residential lab brings together climate experts, activists and creatives to develop powerful stories and build engagement strategies to inspire meaningful action to address the climate crisis. And for more on this, we are joined by Climate Story Lab ZA co-director and impact consultant, UCT lecturer and filmmaker, Dr. Liani Maasdorp. Dr. Maasdorp, a very good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure. Now, tell us more about what the Climate Story Lab ZA is all about and the kind of work that you do there.
Okay. The Climate Story Labs is an international project, and this one that we're hosting in January is the very first one that's being held for Southern Africa. And as you mentioned, we have projects that we've selected from several different Southern African countries, not just South Africa. And Mozambique is included, and the Congo is included, and Zimbabwe. And we're very excited to welcome creatives from those different countries who are making powerful pieces of storytelling in various different forms, from VR to live performance to long and short documentary. And we're going to get together for 4 days of very intensive work, and we're going to work with them on making the stories as powerful as they can possibly be, and then to incubate the distribution strategies, because we believe that the facts and the threats and the statistics and the scientific findings are just not moving people to really big, meaningful changes. And we're hoping that by making people feel, we can make them feel motivated to change.
Talk to us about
storytelling.
Sure. Now, talk to us about the 9 selected creatives. I mean, why do they make the cut? And I believe that the 9 we selected from close to 100 submissions. Tell us more about this.
Absolutely. It was such a difficult process because all of the submissions that we received are so valuable, and they tell really valuable stories. But ultimately, the reason why we selected these 9 is that we feel that these stories have the potential to move audiences in a powerful way. In other words, to elicit emotion and to make people care about the issue, which is key to making people want to change. They have different target audiences, from a live theatre performance targeted at primary school kids that has the aim of enhancing climate change education from a very early age, to raising awareness for policymakers of how vulnerable the environment and communities are in particular areas, to building communities, where a project might be aimed at the affected communities and can be used as a tool to mobilize those communities, to link those communities with others so that they can fight for their rights in a more powerful way.
And I suppose it's all about network building with other climate storytellers. But generally speaking, and in greater detail, what can we expect from this Story Lab?
What the participants can expect from the Story Lab is to be enthused and to learn a lot of new skills in terms of very creative distribution strategies. And the whole idea with Impact is that we link a powerful story with partners that can help get that story to the right audiences. And those partners could be NGOs that are working with that issue, influencers that are based in particular communities, activists, even policymakers who are on board with, driving the kind of change that we need, funders, spaces where they can host their performances. And then what the public can expect after the Climate Story Lab is, over the next year to 2 years, the various projects will be released, and the documentary films, we hope, will be screened on SABC. I hope you can put in a good word for us.
Okay.
And in theatres, at film festivals, at community screenings. We're going to have facilitated conversations. So after a theatre production or a VR experience or watching a film, we really believe that having conversations with audiences is what drives the meaningful change, is to shift them from just knowing about an issue or caring about an issue to actually doing something about it. And what we are really passionate about is that we want to counter mainstream narratives, that it's each individual's responsibility to make a little change at home. Yes, we must do that. But at this point, if we don't get policymakers to make really big, meaningful changes, we are in trouble. But we also want to counter the idea that because we're in trouble, there's nothing we can do. We want to counter that passivity. And we believe that, and this actually mirrors something that the minister said in your previous segment, that it takes all of us.
Yes.
All of us will have to make some kind of change and possibly some sacrifices make meaningful change with the climate crisis.
And there's about 4 projects that were selected from South Africa, right? So what are some of these projects?
Well, the South African projects include one that highlights mining projects on the West Coast, which is a very, very vulnerable ecosystem in the Aqualand, very vulnerable ecosystem, vulnerable communities who don't have access to a lot of resources, who don't have a lot of money to fight in court to resist the mining companies that are trying to mine in that area. And it specifically highlights this idea of green extractivism, where people are spreading this narrative that it's good to frack instead of do coal mining because it's a cheaper and a more sustainable way of generating energy. But it still has the same impacts on communities, and it still has the same impacts on the environment. It poisons the environment and it destroys our natural resources. Some of the other projects look at indigenous knowledge systems, traditional farming methods, and are aimed at sustainable food production. And then we have a very powerful theatre production that I think is also going to go viral on social media, where the angry young people who are sharing their anger and the frustration with the situation that we're in and fighting for change so that the future generations can live sustainably and happily.
And just briefly, for those that are interested in making submissions, for participating in this, how do they go about doing that?
Well, at this point, as you mentioned, we've locked our selections for the 2023 edition, but at this point, we are looking for partners. We're looking for people who are interested in the topics of the films, and people can check out the different projects. They're going to be put up on our website very soon. They can follow us on social media. We are at Climate Story Lab ZA on most platforms, and our website address is also climatestorylabza.org. And people can have a look there, see which of the projects resonate with them. Maybe they see a project that links up with work that they are already doing, either at a grassroots level, in communities, with policymakers, lobbying. People can reach out to us. Our email addresses are there on the website. And of course, we're also looking for support for the various projects. So if there are any philanthropists out there who want to become an executive producer on a film or a theatre production, let us know. We'll hook you up.
Indeed, indeed. Dr. Maasdorp, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was lovely.
Thank you.